Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine you are standing at the very edge of a massive, ancient canyon. The red stone beneath your feet is warm, baked by 1,000 years of sun. Before you lies a vast abyss, a deep scar in the earth that stretches into the horizon. It is silent here, a silence so profound it feels heavy, like a blanket over the soul. Now, imagine you scream. You throw all your anger, your frustration, your need to be right into that void. You shout a name, an insult, a defense. What happens? The canyon screams back. The echo returns to you, distorted, louder, mocking you with your own voice. The more you shout, the more chaotic the air becomes. You are fighting the wind. You are fighting stone. And the canyon remains unmoved, simply amplifying your own turmoil. But consider what happens if you stand there in absolute silence, if you offer the abyss nothing but your breath. Slowly, the echo dies, and in that space, you begin to hear the truth of the place. The subtle rustle of dried sagebrush, the cry of a hawk circling the updrafts, the distant, rhythmic pulse of the river carving the stone a mile below. The canyon does not argue with the storm. It simply exists, ancient and undeniable. My dear friend, in a world that demands you to shout back, the most powerful weapon you possess makes no sound at all. We live in an era that has forgotten the majesty of the canyon. We have traded the fertile silence for a frenetic, never-ending noise. From the moment we wake, we are under siege. A passive-aggressive comment from a colleague that lands like a stinging nettle. A notification on our glowing screens that demands a reaction. A family member who knows the exact coordinate of our insecurities and presses that button with surgical precision. We feel this weight, don't we? A deep, spiritual exhaustion. It is not the work that tires us. It is the defense. We walk through life wearing heavy armor, sword drawn, ready to parry every strike, ready to clap back, to defend our honor, to have the last word. Society tells us this is strength. It tells us that if we do not respond, we are weak, or worse, we are invisible. But look at what this constant warfare does to our spirit. It drains our chi, our vital life force. We are leaking energy into battles that history will not remember, over words that will fade like smoke. We are tired because we are trying to shout down the thunder. Today, we will not learn how to win arguments. We will learn how to transcend them. We will walk the path of the Tao, finding the courage to let the disrespect pass through us like wind through a net, so that it no longer touches the soul. Let us drift now onto the waters of the ancient mind. Imagine a small wooden boat floating on a river shrouded in thick gray fog. You are in this boat. You are rowing peacefully, enjoying the solitude, the rhythmic sound of the oars cutting the water. Suddenly, out of the mist, another boat comes crashing directly into yours. The wood splinters. The shock knocks you off balance. In that split second, a voragem of rage opens up inside you. You stand up, fists clenched, ready to curse the careless fool who crashed into you. You are ready to list their faults, to demand an apology, to assert your space. But then, you look closer. The other boat is empty. There is no one steering it. It simply drifted downstream, caught in the current, and bumped into you. What happens to your anger? It dissipates instantly. Who can you scream at? A few wooden planks? The water? The fog? The anger collapses because there is no target. There is no ego to fight against. You simply push the boat away, and continue on your journey. This is the lesson the old master Zhuangzi left for us centuries ago. The realization is simple yet earth-shattering. Every person who disrespects you is an empty boat. We struggle with this because we are addicted to the idea of intent. When someone cuts us off on the highway, swerving into our lane and forcing us to slam on the brakes, our blood boils. We see a villain. We create a narrative that they chose to disrespect us, that they are attacking our dignity. We grip the steering wheel, knuckles white, poisoning our own blood with cortisol. But look again with the eyes of the Tao. That driver is not navigating by conscious malice against you. They are being steered by the turbulent currents of their own suffering. Perhaps they are late for a job they hate, terrified of being fired. Perhaps they are drowning in the grief of a recent divorce. Perhaps they were never taught patience by a father who only knew rage. They are an empty boat, drifting violently, driven by the winds of their conditioning and their pain. When you realize that there is no one there, that the ego attacking you is just a collection of fears and habits acting out a script, the offense loses its grip. You do not need to forgive the boat for being empty. You simply need to steer around it. By seeing the emptiness in their action, you preserve the fullness of your own peace. You do not invite their chaos into your vessel. You simply observe the collision, check your hull, and keep rowing. And yet, how do we handle this when the boat keeps hitting us? When the disrespect feels hard, jagged, and relentless? We must look to the nature of the physical world for the answer. We are taught that to be strong is to be like a rock, unmovable, rigid, hard. But in the philosophy of the Tao, the rock is brittle. The rock eventually cracks. True power, the kind that survives the ages, belongs to the water. As the old master Lao Tzu whispered in the Tao Te Ching, nothing in the world is as soft and yielding as water. You can run your hand through it, and it offers no resistance. It has no shape of its own, taking the form of whatever holds it. And yet, for dissolving the hard and inflexible, nothing can surpass it. Water wears down the stone not by force, but by persistence and fluidity. When we respond to disrespect with anger, we become a rock hitting a rock. Imagine a heated argument with your partner in the kitchen. They say something sharp, a jagged stone of criticism. Instinctively, you stiffen your spine. You harden your heart. You throw a jagged stone back. Sparks fly. Noise erupts. Both of you leave the interaction chipped and broken. The rigidity caused the damage. Now, imagine applying the softness of water in that same moment. They throw the stone of insult. Instead of offering a hard surface for it to smash against, you offer silence. You offer depth. You become the lake. The stone hits the surface, and yes, it makes a ripple. You feel it. But because you are fluid, the stone passes through the surface and sinks into the deep, dark cold below. It is gone. You remain whole. The surface returns to glass. This is not weakness. It requires a terrifying amount of strength to remain soft when everything in you wants to harden. But think of the result. When you do not offer resistance to an angry person, when you do not give them a hard wall to push against, they lose their balance. They fall forward into their own aggression. By flowing around their anger with a silence that is not passive, but pregnant with presence, you extinguish their fire. Fire cannot burn water. It can only hiss and fade away, leaving you as the vast, cooling ocean that swallowed the flame without ever boiling over. This brings us to the subtle art of Wu Wei. In the West, we often mistake this ancient concept for laziness, for resignation. We hear non-action and we picture a leaf rotting on the forest floor. But this is a grave misunderstanding of the Tao. Wu Wei is not the absence of action. It is the absence of forcing. It is action without effort. It is the intelligence of the farmer who does not pull on the shoots of his corn to make them grow faster. For he knows that to force the harvest is to kill the root. We live in a culture that worships the grind, the force, the hustle. When we feel disrespected, our modern instinct is to force the world back into shape. We want to force the other person to see our point of view. We want to force an apology. We want to manicure our reputation with the brute force of our words. But the old masters speak of Pu, the uncarved block. This is the state of the soul before it is carved up by the desperate need for validation, before the ego chisels away our peace in its attempt to be someone. Think of your energy, your qi, as a bank account of spiritual currency. Every morning, you wake up with a limited deposit. Every reaction is a transaction. When we engage in petty battles, when we construct elaborate defenses against an insult, we are spending our life force on things that will not matter when the sun sets. We are bankrupting our own souls to buy the approval of those who do not care about us. Consider the modern battlefield of the workplace. It is late. You are tired. A notification sounds, a sharp, digital intrusion. It is an email from a colleague or a boss, laced with a passive-aggressive tone, undermining your work, questioning your competence. Watch what happens to the body. The heart rate spikes. The heat rises in the chest. The fingers hover over the keyboard, trembling with the urge to set the record straight. We type a furious draft. We delete it. We type a professional version that drips with sarcasm. We are doing so much, expending so much feverish heat. But the way of Wu Wei invites us to a different power. It asks us to pause, to read the words and see them merely as pixels on a screen, not as a tiger in the room. To breathe, to do nothing, at least not yet. By choosing not to react immediately, we allow the chaotic energy of the sender to settle. We do not catch the ball they have thrown. We let it drop. And often, in that space of non-action, the situation resolves itself. The sender realizes their tone was harsh and sends a follow-up. Or more importantly, our own anger cools, and we realize the email requires only a factual, one-sentence reply, or perhaps no reply at all. We save our currency. We remain the uncarved block, whole, potential, and undisturbed by the chisel of another's bad day. But there is another dimension to silence, one that acts not just as a shield for your energy, but as a revelation for the aggressor. This is the mirror effect. Chuang Tzu, the great sage of the absurd and the profound, told us that the perfect mind is like a mirror. He said, "It goes after nothing, it welcomes nothing, it responds but does not store." A mirror does not judge the object placed before it. It does not try to change it. It simply reflects it with brutal, high-fidelity accuracy. When we argue back, when we get defensive, we muddy the surface of the mirror. We mix our own ego with theirs, creating a confused soup of conflict. But when we offer pure, absolute silence, we become that polished glass. Disrespect is a performance. The person insulting you is an actor on a stage, and they desperately need a supporting cast. They need you to play the victim, or the villain, or the outraged opponent. They need friction to sustain the heat of their own ego. Without your reaction, they are acting in a void. Let us ground this in the uncomfortable reality of a social gathering. Picture a dinner party or a meeting with friends. The air is convivial, warm. Then, someone makes a joke at your expense. It is barbed, rude, designed to humiliate you under the guise of humor. The room freezes. The instinct is to laugh awkwardly to break the tension, to accept the disrespect to save the group's comfort. Or, the instinct is to snap back with a witty retort. But try the mirror. Do not laugh. Do not frown. Do not speak. Simply look at them. Maintain a calm, neutral eye contact. Let the silence stretch out. Let it become heavy. Let it fill the room like a thickening fog. In that vacuum, a powerful psychological shift occurs. The words they spoke do not land on you. They hang in the air, echoing back to the speaker. Without your noise to mask them, the crudeness of their comment becomes amplified. The aggressor suddenly hears exactly what they sound like. They see their own reflection in your stillness, and it is unflattering. They start to stumble. They might say, "I was just kidding," or look away, shuffling their feet. The silence does the scolding for you. It reveals their immaturity without you having to utter a single syllable. You have not stored their insult. You have reflected it. You have allowed them to see the smudges on their own face, and in doing so, you remain pristine. You have not lowered yourself to the mud. You have remained the sky that watches the mud dry. This leads us to the hardest truth, the one that sits at the very center of our fragility. We cannot talk about silence in the face of disrespect without talking about our addiction to its opposite, praise. We live in a world that conditions us to be beggars. We hold out our empty bowls, begging for the coins of validation. Tell me I am good. Tell me I am smart. Tell me I am worthy. And when the world drops a gold coin in our bowl, a compliment, a promotion, a flurry of likes, we feel a rush of intoxication. We feel we have arrived. But the old masters warn us of a terrible danger here. If you can be elevated by a compliment, you can be destroyed by an insult. They are two ends of the same stick. If you allow the world to decide when you are high, you have also signed a contract allowing the world to decide when you are low. Lao Tzu spoke of this in the 13th chapter of the Tao Te Ching. He whispered that hope and fear are both phantoms that arise from thinking of the self. We think that hope, the hope for fame, for respect, for status, is good. But it is merely anxiety in disguise. It is the anxiety of getting, and fear is the anxiety of losing. Both bind us to the opinions of others. To find the silence that cannot be disturbed, we must build an inner citadel. We must realize that our value is intrinsic, like the sky. Imagine the sky. Clouds pass across it. Some clouds are white and fluffy. These are the praises. Some clouds are dark, heavy, and thunderous. These are the insults. We spend our lives chasing the white clouds and running from the dark ones. But the sky does not care. The sky does not change because a cloud is present. It provides the space for the weather, but it is not the weather. Let us anchor this in the device you likely hold in your hand right now. Social media is the great machinery of judgment. You post a photo, a thought, a piece of your soul. You wait. The notifications roll in. "You are amazing," says one. "You soar." "You are an idiot," says another. "You crash." "You are a puppet," and complete strangers are pulling the strings. The practice of the Tao is to look at both comments with the exact same emotional temperature, indifference. To read, "You are a genius," and "You are a fool," and feel the exact same stillness. This is not coldness, it is freedom. When you detach from the need to be praised, the weapon of disrespect turns into dust. You become weightless. You realize that their words are not describing you. They are describing the lens through which they see the world. And you are under no obligation to accept that lens. And finally, we arrive at the highest peak of the mountain, the place where silence stops being a shield and becomes a medicine. This is the realm of compassion, or Sai, the first of the three treasures of Taoism. When we are attacked, our primitive brain screams, "Enemy!" It tells us we are in danger. It pumps adrenaline into our veins to fight a predator. But if we quiet that noise, if we look deeply into the eyes of the person disrespecting us, what do we actually see? Happy people do not insult others. People who are overflowing with peace do not go out of their way to destroy the peace of someone else. Cruelty is not a sign of power. It is a symptom of suffering. It is the smoke rising from a house that is burning down on the inside. When someone disrespects you, they are showing you their wound. They are revealing that they are in pain, that they are insecure, that they are terrified of being small. They try to lower you to make themselves feel taller, even for a fleeting second. If you fight back, if you scream and argue, you are merely throwing gasoline onto their burning house. You are joining them in the fire. But silence? Silence allows you to shift from the victim to the observer, and finally, to the healer. Think of that family member we all have, the one who comes to the holiday dinner and criticizes everything: your job, your partner, your life choices. The tension in the room is palpable. Usually, you bite the bait. You argue. The dinner is ruined. But this time, you use the lens of compassion. You look at them and you do not see a tyrant. You see a person who feels deeply unaccomplished, projecting their own failures onto you. You see a person who is lonely, even in a crowded room. In that moment of realization, anger becomes impossible. It is replaced by a profound, fertile pity. You feel a sorrow for them, and that sorrow protects you. You cannot be hurt by someone you pity. You simply listen. You offer a gentle nod, perhaps a kind word that has nothing to do with the argument, and you let their storm pass. Your silence becomes an act of mercy. You refuse to validate their pain with your own suffering. We have walked a long path together today, from the echo of the canyon to the stillness of the mirror. We have learned that silence is not empty. It is full of answers. It is not a retreat. It is the most courageous advance you can make toward your own soul. It is the sound of a mind that cannot be conquered. So, the next time the storm comes, and it will come, for that is the nature of the world, do not try to shout down the thunder. Do not become the rock that shatters. Be the water that flows. Be the mirror that reveals. Be the vast open sky that holds the storm until it passes. Go now, and let your silence speak the things your voice never could. There is a peace waiting for you, right on the other side of the noise, and it is beautiful.